When I was in Texas, there were people with PhDs, young guys, saying they were going to do their own business. They're Polish. I don't know if they were Jewish or mixed or whatever, but they were Polish. And they looked at me, and I says, yeah, great. And it's sad, because Polish Intel is pink. And they were saying that the Russian was grays and blacks, the Mir. Anytime you hear the word Mir coming from Russia, not Germany, from Russia, that kind of intelligence that was Hagued. You understand the word Hague on US soil? You understand the word Hague? You understand the word Bureau de Veritas? That's what they meant by phenomena on the coastlines. Whenever you hear Mir from Saudi Arabia and not Egypt, Egypt being pink, Polish being pink, wow, Saudi, and you have the UN, and you have corporations, and you have a ship of scientists on the coastlines, and something called the Hague Dirk-Jan van Dam happens, and they tell you, you were the mermaid, you were the leader, you were the scientist who was doing all the flyings and runnings on the coastlines, who was working on the coastlines and elsewhere around the world. German airspace is speaking about a dead baby till today, which you are denying because you cannot understand the science behind that girl. You literally can't understand it when they said complex science. As a relic, after all the flyings and runnings for the parents, because I was defending the parents, against the intelligence, which they call the intelligence of Fresno, were the hanging benches of Laura Quintus and Natalie Direct because of their jobs. They're D1s. D2s, D1s, as jobs, work, and humanitarian relief services all over Africa, South America, and Asia. And to Iraq, they've only been 2-3 times. So this junior business has made the rounds of the world with your Schadenfreude Jr. insanity. And you're being sued for the Schadenfreude Jr. Your chulas with their 5X bras, your white girls with their PhDs, and I'm going to unfortunately have to say it. It's not a question of jealousy and envy. It's a question of what you lost while you were watching this shit on your soil. You don't know what you lost on your own coastlines. You remember Financial Bank that went down? Don't you remember? Do you remember Chibas Bank with a bomb, right? Done by the Mossad. Your internal problem on the coastlines. That when you go to war as a pretext for the second war in Iraq, which nobody wanted, because Bush Jr. was a retard, according to academics, and the academics. Head of sciences at Warsaw University is the brother of the mother. He's 96. He says, Polish intelligence represents pink. You were grays and blacks from Russia. And so was that boat, the ship, the yacht. You're the pin-up girl on the coastlines. Same in Egypt and Saudi Arabia, the cousin of the father. He's 96. Egypt is pink. Saudi Arabia is grays and blacks, the mirror. Okay? That's the science. That's the academics that you lost on the coastlines. German airspace is naming their children Enessa and Nasser Jamila because they remember that girl. You understand what it means to Hague somebody, smash their head on the coastlines, and bring back Disney as a pin-up girl? That they made Ubermensch out of that girl, genetically speaking, with the wormhole to the worm and the UN, with the UN scientists, after they smashed their head on the coastlines, and not in the US, means that you lost a kind of intelligence that you are denying till today because you cannot understand the science. So when you put up a pin-up girl who lives inside the house as a trained pool in the house, and you're still fucking being bitches and whores in Fresno to the parents, with your fucking tits and ass and intelligence in Fresno, the reason they're telling you that you could bomb Fresno, space bomb, be politically correct, around the capital cities and even within the US, because there are people within the US 50 states that actually have brains. Because they know who the fuck Fresno is and the intelligence of Fresno. And you do not need Disneyland by now as a pin-up girl to tell you that to your fucking face. You're offensive to the children on the planet, US. You lost the shit on the coastlines in Massachusetts, in New England, in DC and in New York. Every single one of them is space tech. Every single one of them is science and technology, which is what I was famous for. That shit will never come back. Those bridges that were shot up around the capital cities after the Hague on your coastlines where the Bureau de Veritas pin-up go is never coming back. You could make it look like Disney. Put up a pin-up girl and say, I'm the best, I got a PhD. Put your PhD, that piece of paper, up your ass. Worth every half penny alive and worth every half penny dead, Disney. That kind of intelligence showed up once in a blue moon. You pay German mad scientists to come to your country like Basler. You pay scientists from Russia, from Saudi Arabia, from China to come to your country. That girl was a record breaker from Russia and Saudi Arabia. Ask the German airspace. They kept saying that ever since. Why do you think they named their children Jamila? You think they had sex with me when our lines are running? No. They had sex with me when the girl had already smashed her head on the coastlines. I didn't have time. I was too busy flying the runnings for your admiratory tits and ass in the US. Soil. Around the world and back. You're going to start showing respect to the hanging benches of Laura Quintus and Ali Direct. And I figure, he bad Jews on the coastlines or any cold active or shit. Let me put it this way. You rather have a beautiful home, or would you rather have a fart coming out of the coastlines with those guys leaving? Mermaid. That's all news on the news gone with the wind. What are your pretenses, geniuses? Especially in Fresno's tits and ass. Going around and round in circles. You bite your own ass, you is. And then you speak about, we're the most intelligent. Really? Do you know that AI is not what creates Ubermensch after smashing head on the coastlines? Do you know that those are just the relics after smashing head on the coastlines? You're pitiful. You're the cheapest assholes we've ever seen. That's why they find it disgusting that after smashing head on the coastlines, they had to bring back Disneyland to point out to you that there was a disaster zone on your coastlines of scientists, and not some cheap-ass dark mission Jew. Do you understand that piece of shit? Eyebrows. No wonder there's shit left for that girl. And considering I can see it coming from freaking China, what do they say? Use your brains and not your assholes. Why do you think they brought back a dead from the fucking coastlines as a pin-up girl? Still fucking denying this shit. Fuck, what am I living for? The Scotland film at Radio Globo by now. Yeah, you drew that line on the coastlines with a Hague. Unless you want to speak about the Bureau de Veritas because she was a fucking mermaid. I have never seen such a bunch of assholes and bitches. She didn't look like herself on the eyebrows. She's a degenerate. If I'm a degenerate, what the fuck are you? After the Hague and Bureau de Veritas Disneyland. She's fragile. She's broken up. Yeah. She's not what she used to be, of course. Usually the Hague and the Bureau de Veritas would cover that shit, you know? She's obviously not the same girl. She's a different format. Another format. And you speak about masks and Disneys and... What the fuck is wrong with you assholes? You drew the line on that one. Find your fucking geniuses in the army and the military to reopen that shit on the coastlines. You couldn't? It's your fucking problem that the fucking CIA ended having Hague on their own coastlines with the scientists and not some cheap-ass Dalmatians. You speak about grays and blacks and pinks. Grays, blacks, and pinks? What about some big-ass brown? By now. Look. I have never seen anyone come back from the dead from the Hague in pink or blues. Who else did Kim Van Damme with the Hague and the Bureau de Veritas? He's an engineer in Netherlands. Oh, shit, darling. I followed you everywhere. Wales, Rome, London, everywhere. A lawyer defending children with not normal science talents. We could call that talents. I have never seen anything like that in my life. Yeah? Not exactly. Hmm? You were a particular corn cob of that girl. What? What about the blues? Phenomenal. Out of the dead ashes of the coastlines. And where do you think they were produced, these blues? In Russia, and Saudi Arabia, and in the UN, after the Hague on the coastlines. Do you really believe that if you smash somebody's head on the coastlines and the ship and yacht left and the scientists left, that you're going to be wishful thinking that shit's going to reopen on your soil, shit bitch? That's why they called it the Holy Grail over there. If I had been Chinese, they would have called it the Holy Grail in the UN, in Rome. No, you're just bitches. You see Disneyland, and the first thing you do is, not only do you judge, you be sitting there, how can I get bitch? I hate you. Have cheerleaders following the girl psychopath. You can hire 250 Dr. Parrots for free, they'll do it, even in Berlin. They call it Schadenfreude Jr. They think you're a backward fucking country. And that's official. That's like actually on paperwork. Hey, you know the Veritas. And they say, there's something behind that girl in genetics. But it's not the same person.
Okay?
Yes. Okay. It's impossible that it's going to be the same person. Because if you smash somebody's head on the coastlines, you can bring back Disney. But you will not bring back the blues to this country. Why? Because within the intelligence communities, if you smash somebody's head on the coastlines, you will never bring back that intelligence. Not her, or the mermaid, or the guys in the CIA who were with her. Whether they fell with her, whether they have white hairs with her, whether they died with her, or whether other intelligences around the world saw what was happening, saw what happened on the coastlines from China, predicted it, and said, this is not a country. So keep your PhDs. Keep your violent 5X bras. The more stupid, the more retarded the US is, the better it is for everybody else on the planet. Whatever you lose on US soil is a blessing for everybody else on the planet, including the Western Europeans. But you haven't understood that in your country because you sent your fucking psychos towards me. This is the US. That's that 0.221 of the 21st century. That you lost that shit on the coastlines. That's what it meant. And your cheerleaders and your haters for Disneyland with the Dr. Parrots, your extras, your ugliness inside. You will not reopen that shit on the coastlines. That's gone with the wind long ago. What are your pretenses? Why did they bring me back on the Crawleys, little Crawleys? To show me what? Do you have a PhD in a limousine? That there's the Scotland film and Radio Globo, radio, invented 200 years ago, after the Hague on the coastlines? Bureau de Veritas? I know what that girl was. And I tried to explain it to you. Still denying it. If you can't understand the sciences behind that girl when she was alive, and you cannot understand the pink and blues after the Hague, that kind of intelligence, it pays in kind, like the Luna Park. That's gone with the wind. It won't come back to you. You drew the line with the Hague. Those guys left with her. These are scientists. These are not bullies with uniforms. Big assholes. That's Delft. That's literally the radio of Delft. Whether it's UN scientists, whether it's German scientists, Russian scientists, Saudi scientists, British scientists. That's what you lost on the coastlines. Get over your fucking assholes and PhDs. And your uniforms and your careerists. We call that the old news on the news gone with the wind. You have no shame. You're ugly inside, which makes you ugly outside. And I'm not ugly. I'm Disneyland. And taking the Mickey out of Disneyland and hating Disneyland for being Disneyland after the Hague shows us that you are a backward country. And you can send your psychos like Heine from Hells Angels, Fresno, Stockton, to Frisco, to stalk me, to London, to Germany, to Poland. The Dr. Parrots went into full effect. I'm not going to fight knives. I'm not going to fight cheerleading thugs. Most of them are Jewish. I'll tell you that. But there's also whites and there's chulas. None of these animals are going to reopen anything on the coastlines or fix anything on your coastlines or even whittle it. They're not even capable of whittling that shit. You understand that? Attacking me with a point. That's the pin-up girl of science in the CIA. I was in the CIA on the flyings many times around the world. I was in the CIA on many motherfucking runnings on those hills. I had badges. I still have a CIA badge because of that piece of paper after The Hague. I'm not CIA anymore, am I? Not after The Hague. The CIA couldn't cover its ass because it was so obvious on their own soil. And now you're speaking to me about being a country? About being patriots? You're whores. And Disneyland, after the dead, smashed head on the coastlines with those scientists, and not some cheap-ass Dalmatian will tell you to your face, you're not only a fascist, you're a fucking retard with your psychos. And that doesn't even mention the parents of Fresno or retirements. If you can't hear this, because you're jealous of a Disney girl that came back from The Hague, you're not worth being called a fucking country. Goodbye. Scotland Film and Radio Globo. Bye now. Use your brains, not your assholes.